6 p.m. in Fundong in the northwest region of Cameroon, same time right here in Douala. Good evening, dear viewers of Equinoxe Television. This is a 6 p.m. edition of the Primetime Newscast. First, our major stories. Cameroon observes the 52nd National Day amidst a tense atmosphere in northwest and southwest regions. The mayor of Bello and the inspector of basic education were shot dead today by suspected separatist fighters while they are on their way to the grandstand for the National Day celebration. Meantime, several streets were deserted today due to the separatist-imposed lockdown. Echoes of how the day was celebrated in the 10 regions of the country will be yours in this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast. Also on our foreign page, calm returns in the Democratic Republic of Congo after the army thwarted an attempted coup d'etat against President Felix Tshisekedi yesterday. Meantime, Iranians continue mourning their president who died in a helicopter crash. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television. You made the right choice. And for presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. National Unity Day turned sour in the town of Bello in the Boyo Division, northwest region of Cameroon, after separatist fighters ambushed and killed the mayor and inspector of basic education. The officials were on their way to commemorate the National Day when they were targeted by the armed group. Our correspondent Bostella reports on the escalating tensions that rocked Boyo Division today.
The usually serene town of Bello turned into a scene of horror this morning as separatists launched a deadly attack. The mayor, Dr. Ngong Innocent, accompanied by the inspector for basic education, were en route to the National Day celebration on foot when they were ambushed, according to the governor of the Northwest region. The two were killed in the attack, which has sent shockwaves through the community. The separatists who opposed the celebration of National Day have intensified their activities in recent times, and this attack marks a significant escalation in their campaign. Meanwhile, in Jenicom, a tense standoff unfolded as defense and security forces exchanged gunfire with armed men believed to be the separatists. Residents reported hours of sporadic shootings, which has left the community on edge. In the divisional headquarters of Boyo, Fundong, the early hours of May 20th were similarly marked by the sound of gunfire. Despite the tense morning, security forces were able to secure the area, allowing National Day commemorations to proceed as planned.
And I want to make a call to the population to ask our brothers who are still in the bush to come and drop their guns and join us so that together we will rebuild our division. We will develop our country.
As the region grapples with the aftermath of the attacks, which has left two families in grief, it has once again caused voices to rise up calling for an end to the Anglophone crisis.
Northwest correspondent Bostella reporting there. We'll leave the northwest region to Kumba in the southwest region, precisely in the Mehmet division, where the grandstand and its environs were heavily militarized today on the occasion of the May 20th National Unity Day. During the celebration, the senior divisional officer for Mehmet used the opportunity to call on the population to continue collaborating with the forces of law and order. While in the town of Boya, still in the southwest region, most streets were deserted as many respected the separatist-imposed Ghost Town Day. Details with Mala Glory.
Empty streets observed in some parts of the town of Kumba, while it was a busy one in other parts, as many answered present at the Kumba grandstand to celebrate the National Unity Day, an exciting moment for the city mayor, who continued to call for the population to live in unity.
We all belong together and we stand as one nation. That's exactly that oneness that we are celebrating today.
The event that was heavily gathered brought together different political political parties, the military and other private institutions. The senior divisional officer for Meme, Tutundong Chamberlain, reiterated close collaboration from the population to completely end the ongoing war in the region.
The Meme population, they should continue to collaborate with them, to give vital information to them in order to facilitate their action within the entire Meme division. For the children who remain in the bushes holding guns, I know that they are not many of them again, but those who are there, they seem like other Cameroonian, our children. I am advising them to abide to the call of the head of state, the father of the nation, telling them to lay down their gun and join GDR.
And over to Boye, still in the southwest region, residents adhere to the traditional ghost town by staying indoors. A very timid atmosphere was observed in neighborhoods like Bodoma and My 17 as shops were all closed. However, many showed up at Bongo Square for the 52nd edition of the National Unity Day in Cameroon. The governor this day assured the internally displaced persons across the country and all over the world that peace has returned to the southwest region. So they should come back home.
And still in the conflict southwest region, administrative authorities in the Mayo division say their people remain resilient despite the Umojok Acquire killings prior to May 20th commemoration activities. Speaking to the Mamfi and Umojok ceremonial grounds, the administrators say the context remains challenging. May 20th in the Mayo, like in the Dan division, saw the loud absence of opposition political parties. We have details with Femi Armstrong Sanda.
A 52nd edition of the National Day in the Manu Division of the Southwest region of Cameroon came on the heels of major security incidents that visibly played a huge impact on the psychology of the local population. The Eyumojok Mamfe Road attack and the Acquire killings contributed to these empty streets of Mamfe, the divisional chief town of the Manu. However, at the grandstand, those who turned out witnessed or participated in activities ranging from the military parade, civilian march past, choreographic demonstrations, and sports work. Over in the Upper Bayang subdivision, still of the Manu division, the divisional officer said his people demonstrated resilience despite the Eyumojok and Acquire attacks. The civilian march past saw the participation of only one political party, the ruling CPTM party, in Tinto. Away from the Manu division, the Indian divisional headquarters, Mundemba, recorded a massive turnout. With the relative calm enjoyed by this administrative unit proud to this day, the local population turned out to watch the day's activities ranging from the military parade, a motorized march past to the civilian march past. In Mundembra, medals were also awarded to some meritorious Cameroonians. From the Manu division to the Indian division, the absence of opposition political parties in the 20th May activities speaks volume of the cracks surrounding the very foundation of national unity in Cameroon.
Away from the conflict regions, we now take you to the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, where the May 20th National Day was the usual show of synergy versus the army, and the nation has captured the theme of this 52nd edition. Babla Jonathan brings to us the sounds and colors of the feast at the May 20th Boulevard. His report.
A show of military might, a show of military capacity at the May 20 Avenue in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, under the watchful eyes of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Head of State Paul Biya and First Lady Chantal Biya. The different arms of the defense and security forces are showcasing what military commentators qualify as commitment to national unity, loyalty to the state, and readiness for service to the nation via the proper use of diverse military equipment on land, in the sea, and in the air. Neighboring nation Equatorial Guinea has dispatched a detachment of its defense and security forces to Yaoundé in solidarity with the Cameroonian defense and security forces. This is followed by the civilian parade with pupils, students, members of associations and militants of political parties, materializing the theme of this 52nd edition of the National Day, the Army and the Nation, together for a united, peaceful and prosperous Cameroon.
And we'll leave the nation's political capital to the nation's economic capital, where the March past of the 52nd edition of the National Day saw the massive turnout of the population at the Beseke ceremonial ground in Douala. Away from the military and civilian parade, our reporters also took keen interest in how many had to battle with the scorching sun. Innocent Aze reports.
Even though taxis and commercial motorbikes were rare in the streets of Douala, influx of city dwellers managed to flood the Beseke ceremonial ground to watch the military and civilian parades. That took almost the whole day, presided over by Littoral Governor Samuel Jidone Ivahadzibwa. Some remain standing, others seated at strategic angles to capture every inch of the parade. Some did not hesitate to react on their presence at the ceremonial ground.
Though I'm not marching, I'm here to savour, to take part, to see the joy and the devotion, the work, the discipline that our administrators are giving in to make sure that there is peace and serenity in our country, Cameroon.
C'est le moment pour nous de vivre réellement ce vivre ensemble. Bon, à ce que je constate déjà le multiculturalisme, c'est-à-dire que nous tous nous sommes vraiment réunis.
Though they appraise the turnout of this year's National Day, they are still worried about the state of national unity, which they wish should be strengthened.
What needs to be done is a table-down talk for us to understand each and everyone, because two wrongs can never make a right. We have to understand each and everyone, and that is why it is important that we recognize the place of God in everything we do. So if we propagate love, I think love will take away everything in the Northwest and in the Southwest region. We talk about love with loyalty, we talk about love with sincerity, we talk about love with sacrifice.
The march past that saw the participation of different units of the National Defense and Security Forces, associations, primary and secondary schools, higher institutions and political parties took place under the theme Army and Nation, together for a united, peaceful and prosperous Cameroon. Some meritorious workers in both the public and private sectors were decorated with medals, as well as artists and other persons whose talents have impacted Cameroonians.
And now in news out of Cameroon, Iranians continue to mourn their president, Ibrahim Raisi, who died in a helicopter crash this Sunday in the country's East Azerbaijan. Iran's president died alongside his foreign minister, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, 3 persons are reported dead following an attempted coup by armed men. Ese Luciliengu reports.
Iran's president Ibrahim Raisi dies in an helicopter which crashed this Sunday near Azerbaijan, a mountainous area. Iran's state media Monday morning confirmed that after several hours, rescuers found President Ibrahim alongside Foreign Minister Ami and 6 others dead. The poor weather condition is reported to be the actual cause of the tragic plane crash. Ibrahim became president in a historically uncompetitive election in 2021. According to the Islamic Republic's constitution, a presidential election must be held within 50 days. Meantime, 5 days of mourning has been declared in Iran. And in the Democratic Republic of Congo, an attempted coup, which was thwarted by security forces this Sunday, leaves 3 people dead, including 2 guards and an attacker. According to sources, the armed men attacked the house of Vital Kamehi, the former chief of staff and close ally of President Tshisekedi, early on Sunday morning. The coup was marked by gunfire in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The spokesperson of the DRC army says 50 suspects, including 3 Americans and a British citizen, have been detained.
And now we talk sports. Emmanuel Eseme Alobwebe has proven to be Cameroon's best 100-meter runner as he clinched first position in the Diamond League in Rabat, Morocco. Elsewhere, Cameroon's Jean Junior Nana and Faris Pemi Mumbakna are safe after their car was attacked by armed robbers. A run of our sports stories with Smart Chikan Gabriel.
Emmanuel Eseme-Alogbede has once again represented Cameroon honorably out of the country. In the Diamond League that took place in Rabat, Morocco, Emmanuel Alogbede came first in the 100 meters men race with a time of 10:11 seconds. In football, Cameroonian internationals Jean Junior Onana and Faris Pemi Mumbakna are victims of theft. The two, who play with Olympique de Marseille in France, were robbed in their car on their way from Le Havre. The robbers came with gun, and the impact of the gunshots were visible on the vehicle the two players were inside. Jean Junior Onana and Faris Pemi Mumbakna came out safe. With some major European championships already ended, Cameroonian internationals were successful with their clubs. Joseph Marie Mingnala won the Cup of Malt with his club side, Slima Wanderers FC. James Eto, who was recently pre-selected in Marc Brice's team, is now the winner of the Belgian Cup with his club side. FK Botev Plovdiv defeated Ludogorets 3-2. Even though Manchester United finished 8th on the general classification table of the English Premier League, Cameroon's goalkeeper Andre Onana has created sensation in his first year as he became the first ever goalkeeper in the league to make more than 142 saves. Andre Onana still has in his sleeves the FA Cup final against Manchester City. Finally, after spending 8 good years at Anfield, 32-year-old Joel Matip ends his contract this football season. The former Cameroonian international is expected to leave Liverpool.
Smart Chikan Gabriel ending this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, I'll be receiving a political analyst, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. I'll be discussing about the May 20th celebration. Good evening. It is a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight.
Thank you very much, Immaculate, and it's a pleasure. I hope you also enjoyed the celebration of the 20th May, and I'm saying good evening to our listeners too, and I hope that they also shared in the joy.
Doctor, exactly 52 years today that Cameroon became a unitary state. As a Cameroonian, what does such a day mean to you?
I think I love celebrating, especially a national day. Like I was saying, you know, every nation must have a national day of some sort. Our own national day is the day that two parts of the nation came together, West Cameroon and East Cameroon. And therefore we celebrate that unity, while other nations would be celebrating their independence days, but we in Cameroon, we don't have one single independence day, so we cannot celebrate that. So we tend to celebrate this day of unity, and what we ought to be doing is to be putting in all the ingredients that are necessary to make unity a reality and not just something on paper.
What's your analysis of the perception of majority of Cameroonians vis-a-vis the 20th May celebration?
I think the 20th May celebration is a welcome thing, but again, as I said, as long as people don't see what they are getting out of it as individuals or as communities or as families, there's bound to be questions raised. You know, when people can find out that their needs are being met because of the 20th May, they will celebrate even more. What we are saying is that people are celebrating, yes, but what can we do so that they actually enjoy the celebration? So we ought to be doing something to make people come out en masse and really enjoy the celebration. And someone who is hungry, someone who doesn't have a job, someone who doesn't have a road, someone who doesn't have good health care would not celebrate the way he ought to.
Now, Doctor, unlike previous years, here we are talking about maybe past 9 years ago, the May 20th celebrations have been characterized by lockdowns, timid turnouts and killings. The most recent case being the killing of Gong Innocent, the mayor of Bello, and the inspector of basic education in Bello subdivision today by suspected separatist fighters. With all these atrocities we are seeing on the field, where are we heading to?
It's just unfortunate. The Anglophone war has been going on for 8 years now. And actually in 2019, in September 2019, I was very happy that there was a major national dialogue, which was something that President Paul Biya put together for us to come and talk like brother to each other, look at the problems very squarely, speak truth in love, and actually solve the problem. But as you all noticed, the major national dialogue was not what it was supposed to be, and that's why problems have continued. Because if that dialogue had taken place the way it ought to be, you know, this problem would have finished in 1 month. But just like any bushfire, you know that if you light a bushfire, the sooner you put it out, the better. If you leave it much longer, then it tends to spread, and putting it out becomes more tricky. And like with the war in the northwest and southwest regions now, another phenomenon has set in, which is the war economy, and also what you call the docks of war phenomenon. So when you begin to have all these collateral things getting added to the main issue, it becomes more complicated, and that's where we are today.
Dr. Nick, from your analysis, it is very clear that the major national dialogue was a failure. Can you clarify us on some aspects that makes it a failure?
It was a failure because it didn't address root causes of the problem. You cannot kill a eucalyptus tree by cutting the leaves. And then there is this concept called the problem tree. If you want to solve a problem, address yourself to the roots, don't address yourself to the leaves. So the major national dialogue addressed itself to the roots and didn't talk to the right people. And then, you know, even the Anglophones who were present, you know, like the Cardinal and so on, and many others, you know, their voice was not listened to. And we kind of like thought that we were winning by playing tricks over them, which is not true.
But then some observers think it should be a day of reflection on how to restore the sick or broken nationhood. Others hold the opinion that it should be a day of mourning for the thousands who have died in the Anglophone crisis and other conflicts. What's your opinion about this?
The bottom line is that the country is sick. You know, whether you are Anglophone or Francophone, you are paying the price in one way or the other. And what we ought to do is to find out the ways and means of getting this thing done with, not just the Anglophone problem. You know, we have the Anglophone problem, fair enough, but Cameroon as a whole has many other problems. For instance, youth unemployment, lack of jobs, poverty. You know, 95% of the stuff we use in Cameroon are imported, which is actually not a very good thing. Our education needs to be corrected, and you know, the pressure, the demographics are rising. There are no roads, so everything seems to be out of place, and we need to get to a place where we start correcting these problems. It's very important. Whether we correct them because of Anglophones or Francophones, it doesn't matter. But the nation has lots of problems that we ought to address ourselves to.
Given the socio-political crisis or challenges, how do you expect us to celebrate such a day?
Well, you know, as long as you are alive, you celebrate your birthday, whether you have something to eat or not. I'm sure that's where it is. But a wise and sensible person, after celebrating the birthday, will get on to do the useful work that is necessary to get them out of the jam. And I think after this 20th May celebration, that's what we ought to be doing, to get down and begin to work. And in the case of Cameroon, I think a transition government made of entrepreneurs and people who know how to solve problems should do that. Because up until now, we have a lot of politicians and administrators in positions of power who honestly don't understand what it takes to solve problems, especially correcting economic problems. Don't forget that any nation or system is anchored on four things. Number one, there's the politics, which we seem to be so crazy about in Cameroon. We talk politics from morning till evening. Everybody talks politics, and we have 367 political parties. It's not that number that is important. It's what they do. We actually need only 3 or 4 political parties doing the right thing. We don't need that crowd. And then It's about doing what is true and in love. As long as we are not doing what is true and in love, we are suffering from self-deceit, and that's our problem. We can go on like this for 1,000 years as long as we are not doing what is right, what is just, and what is good in truth and in love, and respecting the common good. We are only wasting our time. So I said there is politics, and politics is about, putting in place the policies, or we agree rather on what we should do and what we should not do. And the second part of it, make sure that we respect our own rules. In Cameroon there are people above the law. Then secondly, it's about economics. Economics is how do you create wealth? How do you spend your wealth? How do you make money? How do you spend it? And when people are fighting and there's a lot of stress, it's because people are not meeting their needs. What are those needs again called? I've forgotten those stages. But people must be able to meet their basic needs, which are food, water, air, and then they need to be able to sleep. They need a home, they need safety and security, they need love, their ego and their self-worth. All these things must be packaged. People must live for something. But now people have lost hope, and that hope must be restored. So that's about economics. How are we making wealth and how are we spending? And when it comes to that, we're not doing the right things. And that's why we need entrepreneurs to help us. As long as we're importing 95% of the things we need, we have messed up big time. And no nation is going to progress when you sell all your stuff as raw materials. It doesn't work. We must create industries. And then the third thing is development. Development of the physical space. We are talking about internet, light, water, homes, railroads, airplanes, whatever you want that is physical, that you can touch or not touch. Then I think the most important one now is the human capacity development. And if Cameroon has been in trouble in all its sectors, including the politics, the economics, and the development of physical structures, it's because of the weak human capacity. We might say that we have a lot of youth with certificates and so many universities, but the bottom line is that what the students are being trained in those universities is not what develops a nation. So we need to recoin our education and make sure that we get it right in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, leadership, in agriculture, transformation, especially industry, and how we live together. All of these things must be properly packaged, otherwise we'll be wasting our time.
Still with the case of Cameroon, can there be national unity without economic prosperity?
It's impossible. It's impossible. If you're going to be talking national unity without economic prosperity, you are a damn liar. It doesn't work. So if you want your politics to be okay, you must correct the economics. You can have as many meetings and parties and deceive yourself as you want from morning till evening. If you don't work on your economics, it is wrong. That's why President Paul Biya has come up with the notion of import substitution, which seeks to correct our economy. Because when he talked 10 years ago of emergence in 2035, a lot of people did not understand what he was saying, and 10 years afterwards, we have not moved 1 inch. So now, import substitution is about us raising up our youths to be able to take up that fight and that challenge by learning the technology, by creating industries, and by making our own consumer goods, so that we stop importing rubbish and create and begin to manufacture our own and then to export. If you have a nation that has to be importing rice, fish, and toothpick, then you are no nation.
What's the way out for a strong, united, and prosperous Cameroon?
That we pay attention to our politics, that we correct the Anglophone problem, and actually solve it by going back to the roots, create a West Cameroon and an East Cameroon, cause decentralization within the states, and then create new capitals. Make sure that the corruption in the country comes from mostly from the administration. So people who are going to be administering all these units should be elected, but not appointed. And then, if you want the civil service to really work, and the country to move forward, give our diaspora a double nationality so that they come in and reinforce what we are doing with technology, with administration, with financial knowledge, with finances, with everything, and then we'll see that work. The bottom line is we create a better management system and leadership for our country. We create better politics for our country. We create industries for our country. We create opportunities for all youth to have work. So we need to correct all of these things, but beyond that, we must correct our school system. If we don't correct our school system, it will never work. So we need to create that workforce that is responsible, and we need to all love our country. We need to be patriotic. Patriotism doesn't come from talking. Patriotism comes from doing. And like I've said before, we have mistaken, you listen to some ministers or administrators praising the president, and you think because they're praising the president, they are patriotic. They are given work to do, they steal the budget, praise the president, and then we think they're doing the right thing. No, it's come to a point where if you want to support the president and support the nation, you should do your work so that everybody benefits.
Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, political analyst, thank you so much for your time. And that's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of more interesting programs on ETV. Up next is Equinoxe. Bye-bye for now.